Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. I must admit that it's been a pretty good week for me. How about you guys? When I say it's been a pretty good week, it's been pretty normal, if there is such a thing as normal. I wasn't aware of any major ups or downs within the week. It was just like, wow. We like that. So, to all of you, a very big welcome. I hope that you will find a lot of value out of the stuff we're going to talk about today. I've got First of all, before I say anything else, I really wanted to say that my heart goes out, my thoughts and prayers go out to Queen Elizabeth. I understand that she has been told to sit quiet for 2 weeks. Now, I want to tell you something. I don't think ever in my lifetime I've heard them tell the Queen to behave herself for 2 weeks, which makes me deeply concerned about her health. And so I just want to start before I get to the main thoughts and prayers, because I don't want to forget that. Really important to me. So what I wanted to find out from you guys is, what's been going on with your week? What have your feelings been like this week? We know it's Halloween. We know it's Halloween week, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, because that's never good for me. Really. It's just like, how can they do that to me? I really have a major issue with that. Candy at giveaway prices. I mean, really? Anyway, so such happens. By the way, did you like my little Halloween skeleton? I wonder how many of you remember that skeleton from way back when. I would say I've had those straws for 10 years, more, maybe. But, I happened to unpack them and I went, oh gosh, I've got to bring those out so people can see them. We're going to be talking this weekend, we're going to be talking about building trust and, making sure that we are trustworthy. And that's not necessarily easy to do, is it? And I say that because one of the things about building trust is you have to trust yourself in order to trust others. And I think all too often what happens is that we want it the other way around. And it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So in order to be somebody that you can trust, do you trust yourself? That's the question, right? Do you trust yourself? And I don't know what I just did with my live stream. There it is. It takes me a little while to get all my windows working in the right way, but I'll get there eventually. All right, so here we go. Today, when we're talking about trust, I tried to find quotes that would work both ways. All right. And so what I'm going to be doing is turning the mirror every now and then to make sure that we're looking at it from both sides, not just are we trustworthy, but who are we choosing to be friendly with? Are we friendly with people who are trustworthy? And, what are we going to do? How do we manage ourselves around people who are not trustworthy? And so before I get on to that, I want to tell you we've had unbelievably, I think the weather forecast was potentially historic weather bomb. And it dropped wicked winds, rains, and you know what, on top of us this last week here in southern British Columbia. We had the barometrics drop down all the way to 977, I think, which meant that my head was exploding. And we had, about 5 inches of rain, gusts exceeding 100 kilometers an hour. That would be about 62 miles an hour. And it was just like, hello, I guess it's fall. And even then, I've still got some of those little pesky leaves that are holding onto the maple trees above me. I don't know if any of you saw the picture that I put up, but my exercise this week has been raking maple leaves, and big ones at that. And then, it's just been raining too much for me to bag them up, but that's what I will do with them. I will actually bag them up, and then systematically I will mulch them and then put them over my garden. Yeah, beautiful weather. Thank you, Jody, for, it's unusual for me to be talking about such bad weather, but I guess it's not snowing. And you know me, I'm happy that it's not snowing. And I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit as well. Okay, so here we go. Building trust is a process, all right? It results from consistent and predictable interactions over time, all right? In other words, make sure that you build trust and have people build your trust. Don't presume, and I think that's a mistake we all get into, right, when we are young. I don't know if you'd agree with that we presume everybody is trustworthy, and then to our horror, find out that they're not. And I think it's something we all learn at school. We share information with someone we thought was a bestie or whatever, and then we find out no, they're not, because what did they do? They use that information against us. Allergies. Okay, so and then you get to feel betrayal. So I would question now for a second, where do you think your trustworthiness stands? On a scale of maybe 1 to 5, with 1 being not very good to 5 being, yeah, I'm pretty darn good. How would you rate your own trustworthiness? Now, like every other trait that we have, I am sure that it's something that can be improved upon, and that's what I'm always trying to do with these broadcasts, is to go, hey, I don't mind that you're not perfect. It's like, let's have a look at it and let's see how we can improve it. And where do you let yourself down? That's something to look at as well. And I wanted to make sure that before we go on, that we hold Erin and Jody in our thoughts and prayers. They're both having issues going on with their livers. And so please, be kind and give them your thoughts and prayers, because they need it. And also, I want to say that, I'm a great believer that everything happens for a reason. So for those of you who enjoyed that broadcast we did last Friday evening about sodium, how much sodium are we putting in? I was amazed how much I've been checking the bottles this week. And I don't know about the rest of you, but it made me really sodium conscious. That that I've been using a lot of stuff with a lot of sodium, and also it has made me revisit things that I used to use, and to my delight, I found out they actually don't have very much sodium in them, but they really pack a good punch of flavor. So that is awesome to hear. So thank you, everybody. I believe I missed Jamie's birthday on the 24th, and for that I am really sorry, Jamie, if you happen to pick up on this broadcast. Forgive me, please. I don't have any excuses. Life got in my way, and that was it wasn't intentional. That's the main thing. We've got Kerry's birthday coming up on the 31st. Where are we now? We're on the 29th, 30th, even Sunday, right? And we know that sometime in October, it was or is Nada's birthday. So happy birthday to you all. And if I've forgotten anybody, please let us know, because we like to keep a database. And normally I check it a couple of times a week to make sure I'm ahead of the game, but I failed this week. Sorry, Jamie. So if there's a birthday this week for you, or an important anniversary, please let us know, just so that we can update the database. And again, thanks to Lynn, who very kindly comes up every now and then with some new little thumbnails that I put up for the warning of the broadcast. She sent me a couple more this week, and I'm very, very grateful for that. They always make me smile. And, I think anything that makes you smile in life's got to be a good thing. Jody's saying that my trustworthiness has improved since I stopped saying I promise to. Yes. And then life happens and I failed. Now I say it is my intent to do so and so. And that's been a game changer for me. Thank you, Sal. You know something, it was a game changer for me, and that's why I shared it with you. The other thing is, you will notice that I also stop you from promising me things, all right? And that is something, I can get this right. That is something that I work on. When people say to me, oh, I promise I'll do that, I say, please don't promise me that, because life sometimes gets in the way and you're going to feel terrible if it does. And I wouldn't want that. So just tell me that you're going to do it and I will believe you. And, you know, it's amazing how many people sit and think about that for a little while and go, you know something? I do that all the time. I promise people things and then I let myself down. And I said, yeah, how does that feel? You see, I don't think any of us likes to be somebody that doesn't keep their word. But once you see that if you promise something to somebody and you don't perform, that your trustworthiness has just gone down a notch, it's pretty important. So now, for example, when people ask me, you know, to dinner or something, and I'll say, okay, fine, just want to tell you, I'm there unless life gets in the way. And that's what I say now. Not I promise I'll be there. I say I'm there unless life gets in the way. And, you know, some people will say to me, oh, that means you're not going to come. I said, no, quite the opposite. I have every intention of being there. But if life gets in the way, I'll let you know. So people don't like it as much, but I do. It makes me feel much better. So when you look at these things, I'm definitely having my fair share of challenges today. When you look at these things, think about it and say, you know, how trustworthy am I? And what do you hope, you know, when you trust somebody, what sort of checklist do you go through in your mind to find out if you can trust them? Or what little things do you do to check if you can trust them? And I wondered, you know, it doesn't matter if you're here listening right now in the background or whatever, or even on the replay, but, you know, perhaps let us know, what do you do when you meet somebody new and you want to find out how trustworthy they are? How much effort do you put into that moment of finding out how trustworthy they are? And or do you just blindly presume you know, everything's good until you prove otherwise? And you know, some people do work on that system. You know, I presume you're trustworthy until you prove yourself not to be. But you know, I still found, for me, I found too many people were not trustworthy, quite honestly. And rather than get disappointed, I decided to take a different view on it. What I did was I said to myself, you know, this is my responsibility. How much I share with other people is my responsibility. And therefore, I need to be more careful about what I share. Before I go on, let me just see what Jody said here. She said, it's important that they don't repeat sensitive information. I also go with my gut feeling on how comfortable I feel telling them my secrets. Yeah. You know what's a really good benchmark for me, Jody, and I don't know if any of you are the same. If they are busy scandalizing about somebody else, the chances are I go, okay, that's somebody who passes on information. Right? If I hear them say, did you know that they gossip a lot? Now, we all gossip a little, right? If we're human. But if they are constantly gossiping about other people and not nicely, then what do I know? The chances are when I turn my back, they're gossiping about me as well. And therefore, why would I give them the ammunition? You know, that's how I look at it. But you know, the change I made in my, I wonder if it is emotional intelligence. I think it is. The change I made was not to put myself at risk, to protect myself better. And that meant that I didn't give people that I didn't know fairly well, I didn't give them the ammunition. Now, the interesting thing is Jodi's saying that she goes with her gut to a large extent. Yeah, I do as well, Jodi. I know that I trusted you probably way sooner than I would normally have trusted anybody. And you never gave me reason not to, since then. You know what I mean? So it was just like, thank you for that. I felt I made a good choice. The same with Lauren. You guys have had lots of sensitive information about me that you could have, used to my detriment, and I don't believe you ever have. Jodi's saying I had a neighbor who was basically the town crier with everybody's information. I learned very quickly not to share sensitive information. Yeah. And, Jodi's saying, that she feels the same about our connection. And yeah, it was, I just instinctively had a feeling that you were pretty darn trustworthy. And that is really important to trust your gut, but test it. So how did you test it, Jodi? Or did you just carry on presuming I was trustworthy? She looks pretty trustworthy, sounds pretty trustworthy. I know that when I first started to be a YouTuber, it was really funny. One of the things I used to do is if ever I mentioned Benji or Judy, I would check it with them. It was funny. And after a while, they said, Sal, don't even bother anymore, right? We know that you do not share a whole lot of sensitive information with people. And, even to the extent that, you'd be amazed how many people write to me because they think I am the shoe-in for them. And I will write to them and say, hey, as much as I'd love to send this message on for you or do whatever, you understand, if I do it for you, I'll need to do it for a million other people. And therefore, I made a decision in my life not to pass things on. I will not be the messenger for you. Well, how do I get hold of them? I said, the same way as everybody else does. I would recommend, to me, it's just like, I don't have the time to be the messenger for a million or a couple of million people as much as I would love to be. But I had to put down that boundary. And so, very important to see that. And I think that is part of, how I looked after myself. And also, can you imagine if I spent my whole time passing on messages to them? They would not trust me very much, would they? Now, have I passed messages on? To be honest, and that I try to do that, very occasionally, maybe once or twice a year, I will hear something or see something, and I will deem it in my own judgment to be important enough that I want to pass it on. Or that it is, wonderful enough that I want to pass it on. If we get a really breakthrough moment on DearMamaSal and somebody writes and thanks me, I will always pass it on to them and say, without your help, this would not have been possible. Because that to me is a different use of that connection. And I never want to forget the fact that, if it were not for Benji, I'd never have gone onto YouTube. So what do you do to improve your trust level? And I sort of had a bit of a look at that to see what we could do. One of the things that they suggest is that you be open and honest to build trust. Well, that's sort of counterproductive, isn't it? If I'm going to be more careful about what I share, and then it says the first thing you need to be is open and honest, that means of the stuff that you choose to share, be open and honest, right? So, be open and honest, but your filter is deciding what you're going to be open and honest about, right? But you understand, if you sit there and you're constantly going, well, I don't know if I should share this with you, or did it, that's bound to not build trust. So, you want to get sort of, hey, this is great. You're going to love hearing this. But I have quoted many times before. I met a business leader who said, if you want to know what you talk about and what you don't talk about, here is a very simple benchmark, a very simple, checklist. If you don't want it spread across the front page of tomorrow's newspaper, shut up. And I thought that was really good. If you are sharing stuff that they'd be embarrassed about, or you'd be embarrassed about, don't share it. I had somebody write to me this week and share with me something about somebody, and then write to me and say, hey, I believe that person's just come onto Messenger, so I better not be talking about them in Messenger in case I hit the wrong button. Well, what do you know? All right. I don't have a fear of that. I try not to tell people stuff that I, don't tell them myself. Yes, Janie's saying that she's been glad to share things about her home, getting new curtains, buying new roasters, etc. Yeah, absolutely. And you can be open and honest about all of that stuff. All right? Yeah, it feels good to all of us. The same with me. I love telling you about my unboxings. And you probably think, gosh, Sal's, has a direct line to Amazon, because they're always delivering. That's what my neighbors think. But something, it's my way of saving money. I know that sounds really strange. And I'll explain that to you when I'm unboxing. So think about that. Be open and honest about the things that you do share. Just don't share everything. So let me ask you, how do you know if people are not trustworthy? Do you have any suggestions for people? What do you how do you, teach your children or your grandchildren who they should share things with? Because, we don't, at what point do you tell children to stop telling the truth? That's another thing. We teach them to tell the truth, and then suddenly we teach them not to. Interesting point, right? So be careful how you process this, I guess. So give me some feedback on this, just so that I know where you are coming from. All right, so let me see here. Showing up builds trust. Trust builds relationships. So can you have a relationship if you don't have trust? Can you have friends if you don't have trust? I think you can have acquaintances if you don't have trust of people. You have them as acquaintances, but they're not your friends, all right? And I think that's part of maturity, isn't it? When you realize not everybody is your friend. Some people are just people they're not your friends. And 5-year-old, everybody's their best friend, right? I think part of maturity is when you realize you've only got a couple of friends. Isn't it funny how, as we age, the number of people we call our friends, diminishes? How many people think that the number of friends they have is the number of people that follow them on Facebook or Twitter? No, those aren't friends. Those aren't friends. All right, those are people who think they know you. I'm amazed how many people think they're my friend when I go in my mind. I'm going, it's interesting because I don't see you as a friend. I see you as an acquaintance, and I do have that distinction. All right, Jeannie's saying, we try not to engage with folks who are diametrically opposed on political views. We do not want to argue, and we are enjoying those people in other respects. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Jeannie, the other thing is, I believe that is why it was said, in etiquette, don't talk politics or religion in company because of that conflict. However, Jeannie, I would like to say that my definition of a friend is somebody that has got different political views, and I can discuss it. As you know, my friend Marnie and I have slightly different views. Not totally, but very slightly different views, and we can discuss it for the longest time. And I still consider her a really good friend. I am glad to have friends that have different political views. And so, it's like, but I'd like to think that I'm emotionally fairly intelligent, and I am prepared to listen to the other side. Not all the time, but most of the time, I'm prepared to, okay, now give me your side of it because I want to understand. But most people don't want to do that. I think politically, I am a bit concerned about how I'm going to be able to handle the upcoming midterms and then the re-election, because I don't want to offend people. But on the other hand, I think it's important that we stay aware of what's going on. That's awesome. Yes, Jody's saying I can discuss politics with friends with opposing views now. Yeah, and it is, I think that's a pretty, but I also see Jeannie's point of view, don't you? Which is it's easier not to have to worry about that. So maybe, Jeannie, the benchmark for you would be I will have these people as friends if they can do it without getting heated and throw insults and pound the table. If they can discuss it like with human beings, all right, just like we would discuss what this season's color scheme is. If we can discuss it with some humor and with balance, then yes, have those people as friends, even if they have opposing views, because you'll probably learn a lot. All right, that's how I look at it. I love to learn from people with opposing views, as you know. However, if they're ramming it down my throat and telling me what I have to do or what I must do, then this is not a friend. All right? That's another thing for me. If people are trying to control me, they are not my friend. All right. And I have never, ever told Marnie what she should or should not think. All right. However, I go, that's an interesting thought. You better talk to me a bit more about that because I don't get it. And she'll start to laugh, and then she'll tell me, well, da 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 da. And she'll go, and my research says da 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 da. And I say, awesome, send me the research. What? Send me your source. I want to read your source. Now, I know Marnie. Marnie doesn't, get her sources off Facebook. She gets her sources from pretty solid sources. And so from that point of view, it's always interesting to me to read. And I know that if Marnie has that point of view, the chances are she's read something on it. Yeah, isn't that true, Jeannie? Jeannie's saying, sad to say, some cannot be decent in their opinions. And that is the point that I'm trying to say. If you can't trust them to be decent, then they are not somebody that you can talk politics with. And you might even tell them that truth and say, hey, I would love to talk politics with you, but I notice whenever we do, you are inclined to force your opinions onto me and think I'm an idiot if I don't agree with you. So therefore, I have decided I would prefer not to discuss politics with you. Well, if you want to stay dumb or whatever, you go, you know something? There you go again. Here's the truth. I talk politics all the time with people who share their opinions in a calm, quiet way and trust me to be intelligent enough to make my own decisions. All right? And that is the difference. Jeannie's saying, Ginny's saying that she and I trust each other and that changes everything. Yeah, exactly. We respect each other. Yeah, and that changes everything. Yes, I think that's really important. And how many times have I said to you, hey, give me your side of it, Jeannie, just so I can understand? Doesn't mean I'm going to change my opinion, but I want to see what changed yours, right? That's always of interest to me because it tells me a lot about somebody. And by the way, Jeannie, I heard this morning, and I could be wrong, but that Mr. Trump or President Trump, ex-President Trump, has decided he's not going to run again. I can't believe that to be true. But anyway, when I say I can't believe it to be true, I mean that with a smile, because it's like, and if not him, then who? That's going to be interesting, isn't it? Jody's saying, if the other person starts out the conversation with, let me tell you why you're wrong. Yeah, that's a pretty fair indication this person does not have a very balanced viewpoint, right? We can learn from each other without trying to sway our view. Yes. And so the question would be, how have Marnie and I discussed hours and hours of politics without blowing up at each other? We understand that we are each intelligent people. That's a good start, right? And so I'm not joking. There have been times when I've been sitting opposite her at a meal or something, and she's said something politically, and I've started to chuckle, and I go, hang on a second. I can't believe I just heard that. All right, so I'm missing something. That's what I'm inclined to say. I'm missing something. All right. So, if I'm missing something, let me know what you've heard that I don't know. So we will see. Yeah. You see, Jeannie saying that she's heard that the Republican running in Virginia is now running ahead of the polls. I no longer believe the polls, Jeannie. How about you? I mean, I've been so wrong so many times with trusting the polls that now I just go, I'll believe it when I see it on the day. I still am. I don't know why. I just don't trust the polls the way that I used to. I think that's just my view, Jeannie. That I have found now that it's almost like the polls are part of the what do you call it? The spin. All right. It depends whose polls, right? And if everybody's polls are saying that's you're probably more likely. But again, we never know until people turn up on the day and vote, right? And so I just don't hold as much sway on them as I used to. They're just how does everybody else feel about that? Do you trust the polls? And I know exactly the moment when I stopped trusting them as much. But it's just like yeah, exactly, Jeannie and Jody, right? Depends whose polls, right? And again, you remember how many times you hear me say that? Check the source. Make sure you know. Now, if it's an Angus Reid poll, I'm inclined to trust it. Not being paid by anybody here, but if it's a news organization's poll, first of all, I check their affiliation, who do they support? And then I decide whether I want to believe that poll or not. But quite honestly, I don't believe the polls as much as I used to. And I'm hoping that the candidates don't either. So let's be honest and open about the things we choose to share, knowing that any one of those things we choose to share could end up on the front page tomorrow. You understand what I'm saying? The town crier could get hold of it. And therefore everybody could know about it. And I think when we hold ourselves personally accountable, it's not the other people that are to blame. Can you see, if you turn the mirror, we are to blame. We share things with people we should not be sharing things with. Think about that. And that's how part of my benchmark is, which if I find they're only slightly trustworthy, then I only share very superficial stuff with them. What color I decided to use for my new paint in some room, I will share that with them. I will let them know that, hey, I got so excited this week. I actually got my drawers back into my vanity and they actually work. Those sort of things. All right. But I'm not talking about my health issues, and I'm not talking about stuff like that. And I think you all know that I am pretty darn careful about the information I share here. Quite often, I will see stuff on the thread, the chat line here, and I will choose not to just openly share it. All right, because I don't know that person well enough, and I'm not sure if I trust that they realize that if it's there, that I will repeat it, and if I repeat it, it's going to be there forever, in the internet. And so I will only do that with people I know are smart enough. When I say smart enough, but that are accountable enough that I trust that they know anything they type there, could be there for a long time. All right. So, yes, Jeannie, it's interesting that you're saying that. It's off topic for the moment, but, or rather, Jeannie, are you going to be on this evening? Because that's something really good for the Friday evening broadcast. Jody, could you cut and paste that so that I can add it to the Friday evening broadcast? That would be awesome. All right, so here we go. I like this one. Juliana Moore said, loving someone is giving them power, the power to break your heart, but trusting them not to. And if you think about that, when we get into relationships, I don't care whether it is any relationship, when we get into relationship, we trust somebody. All right. We say, I trust you enough to share things with you. Now, how many of you have been in a relationship and have a real problem because if you're a female, the men in your life don't share things the way that you do? Well, I think that men have a different gene, and that gene sort of, filters a lot stronger than it does in women. I think women naturally want to share everything. Men can put the brakes on it a bit more. And so, and also, I've had that conversation with many men in my time, which is, why would they share? The reason is that women, will use that as ammunition for the rest of their lives, you know. And I was talking to one guy about that, and he said, why would I open up, and give them ammunition to beat me over the head with for the next 10 years? Very good. Hi, Jenny. Good to see you. And so we've probably all been betrayed in our time. And have any of you been betrayed? In other words, somebody has broken the trust and can remember how that feels. And have any of you, had that trust broken and rebuilt it? And I wanted to just talk about that a little bit, because that takes certain skill. That takes, without a doubt, the ability to be able to forgive somebody. And so I think that is a very special place to be. So let me ask you, as people who've had this happen, when people break your trust, what do you do about it? Do you discuss it with them? Do you just write them off the Christmas list? What do you do? Jeannie's saying, my husband is still learning to share with me. That's interesting, isn't it? You've been married how long? He doesn't want to upset me. But I say we're partners, and I need to know the important things. Yes, and we need to go through these things together. Very good point, all right? And he may never learn, because I would imagine, Jeannie, in his past, people betrayed him, and he doesn't want that to happen. Jeannie's saying, Jody's saying, I was betrayed, and I am still in the process of rebuilding trust. The relationship is not the same, but I wanted to salvage it as best I could. Yes, you see, you know what This is something that I talk to people about. If you're building a wall, which most of us do, by the way, you've got bricks, right? And you've got mortar. That's the cement stuff that goes underneath, on top, and in between the bricks. Now, I call that, in a relationship, I call that love glue. Okay? And here's what I found out. That if I don't know you very well and you betray me, there's not much love glue in the relationship. You know, I don't have a lot of stuff to go back and say, hey, you know, of the 455,000 things I told her, this one got shared. You know, on the big scheme of things, that's pretty good. But, you know, if it's somebody you've known for a long time, you've got a lot of love glue. Does that make sense? To hold the relationship together. That it's easier to forgive because you can see that you have got that love glue sticking the relationship together. So I think when somebody betrays you, it is really important that you make that decision. Is this relationship worth trying to salvage? And do I have enough love glue to do it? Now, some of you, the love glue that you use is called your faith. All right. That you will forgive and move on, but you don't forget. You don't forget. And so here is my bottom line on this topic for today about feelings. If you feel somebody has betrayed you, do you understand that the first thing you need to remember is that you trusted them? You trusted them. You shared that information with them. Or you decided to trust them to be trustworthy. That was your decision. Maybe before they'd had proof of it. And so when we get betrayed, I think we need to turn the mirror and go, where did I turn a blind eye here? Where did I just presume everything was good, you know, and that they were trustworthy? Do you understand what I'm saying? And how arrogant of me to think that they were. But I don't think that you can have a relationship, a good one, unless you do trust somebody. How about you guys? What do you think? And so I would say that being in a relationship is a huge, it's like going to space, right? You have to trust that it's going to be okay. And be prepared to forgive if you want to be in a good relationship. Right. It's interesting. Jeannie's saying that she has 2 single girlfriends who really like my husband and have made him feel uncomfortable. One I see less often and the other we forgave and she acts better now. You know, one thing I say to people, JD, you've probably heard me tell this story, but I was asked to speak at a funeral one time. And you know, I shocked the congregation because I actually said I didn't like the person who died, and everybody sucked breath. But, you know, funny enough, the husband just smiled because he knew if I said something like that, what was coming next would be the important thing. And I said, you know, the reason I didn't like her was because she had attributes that I know I could never possibly come up to. You know, I would never have her character. And then people started to relax a bit. I go, for example, I was forever having lunch with her husband. I was forever phoning him at home, and he was phoning me back. from home. And when I phoned to speak to him, she would pick up the phone and go, "Hi, Sal, you don't want to speak to me. You want to speak to Ernie." And I go, "Yep." And, and I said, and she never seemed to feel badly about it. You see, she understood that females can have relationship with males that are platonic. And I often say to people who are very jealous, if he was having that relationship with a guy, would you have a problem with it? No. Why not? Well, it's a guy. And I go, think about that. It's just like, think about that. And, it's like, when I was doing this eulogy, I was saying, what woman has enough emotional intelligence that she can have me phoning all over the place and never, ever see that as a threat? And and I must admit, by the time I'd finished the eulogy, a lot of people came to me and said, "Boy, was that a wake-up call. You scared the life out of me when you started, but boy, was there a lesson in that." And I said, she loved her husband so much that she wanted him to have friends other than her, and she didn't mind if they were female. Now, I understand Jeannie's point of view. If there are people flirting with your husband, that is, not a good thing. But how many people think that flirting is an okay thing? Yeah, that's a good thing as well. When I say a good thing, that's a good discussion. How many people do you know that think that flirting is socially acceptable? I used to know, I don't anymore, but I used to know quite a few people that would think that was quite normal. So think about that. Do you trust somebody who flirts with other people? I don't know. Let me know. And here's another thing. Even though you feel horrible about your trust being broken, do you understand that asking why did they do it is absolutely a waste of time? Boy, I think that's still one of the greatest lessons of my lifetime, that asking why is a waste of my time. They just did. And quite honestly, knowing the reason why isn't going to help me one little bit. The truth is, they did. And so here's what I say, is that if somebody does something that breaks my trust, I either address it with them, which, by the way, takes an enormous amount of courage on my part, or I let it go and just talk it up to experience. And Jeannie is saying that she never flirts with married men. Do you flirt with married women? In this day and age, it's interesting, isn't it? I always used to say that I used to do a lot of leadership camps and things, and they were always so fussy about the males and the females being kept separate. And I remember one or two board meetings saying, "Here's my question to you all. You're so busy trying to protect the men from the women. What about the gay? What about the gays? Are we protecting our participants from somebody who is gay hitting on them, who's in the same dorm, because they are the same gender?" And I have to tell you that the reaction I got was one of, "Oh, don't be stupid." Well, hello. I knew of it happening. That's why I brought it up. And I know that I pulled that participant to the side and I said, "Hi, your sexual orientation is your business, and I am not here to judge it. What I am here to tell you is you hit on another one of the participants, and you are out of here so fast, you will miss an opportunity of a lifetime. This What you do after this weekend is totally your business. But as long as you are on this leadership weekend, I need you to have the leadership to keep your sexual preferences and attractions under control. So think about that. All right? Think about that, and think about whether you want to stay on the course or not. And this was your freebie. And I'd like you to apologize to the person that you hit on. And you might want to apologize to your dorm, because they were aware that it happened. And let's see how much character you've got. So I look at it and go, in this socially accepting environment in which we live, let's not be too clear about males and females. Let's make sure that we are equal opportunity offenders, if you like. Jodie's saying, I'm naturally a flirty person, but respectful. I give genuine compliments and I make people laugh. Yes, I am the same, as you know. But I have learned to watch reactions as well. You know what I mean? It's like if I joke with somebody's husband, I keep half an eye on the wife to see if they're laughing or whether they got serious on me. If they got serious, then you know that they are processing on a different level. Jeannie's saying, my oldest friend is a gay woman. Her friends often flirted with me. I just said, no, I like men, and all went well. Yes, and I found out that was a great way. Isn't that funny? When I was in my 20s, if I was hit on by somebody, I used to say to them, oh gosh, how kind of you, but actually, I don't walk that road. And, it was so funny how many guys would come to me afterwards and say, Sal, that person actually thinks you're gay. I said, I know. I'd like to keep it that way, if you don't mind. It keeps them well away from me. But, it used to be a great way to keep people away that I didn't want to have hitting on me. And I didn't mind what they said about me because people who knew me knew better. Now, I thought this was a really nice quote about this. And I don't know who said it, but I read that it was said that forgiveness is letting go of all hopes for a better past. Isn't that interesting that forgiveness is letting go of what should have happened? I think that's a brilliant quote. We just accept it for what it was, and that's forgiveness. It doesn't mean they were a bad person. They just hadn't learned as much as maybe you have. Now, my next question to you about trustworthiness, from your experience in life, and you've lived quite a life already, what percentage of the people that you know are trustworthy? How many of the people that you know are people you would trust everything to? Maybe the combination of your safety deposit box or whatever. Think about that. How many people do you know that you would trust that far? Or how many people do you know that you would trust 75% of your life to? And the reason I would like to hear that, because I think it's important for us to understand that percentage. So what do you think? I think I had a pretty good idea of that when my house fire happened. And I had money in the house that I needed somebody to look after for me. I didn't want to take it to the bank at the time because I wanted it out of the bank. We were just starting the pandemic and I wanted cash on hand. And I was quite surprised that people that I hadn't known for very long were people I trusted with that money. And they were horrified that I did. But what I knew is that they had a safe. And I said, I wonder if you could do me a really big favor. I wonder if you could put this money in your safe for me. And I joked about it a lot, that they had this wad of money of mine sitting in their safe. They could have ripped me off now. And they said, "Why did you trust us?" And I said, "Did you give me a reason not to?" I really did. I trusted that they would not have done it. Now, do I trust them with everything? It was just money in my view. It wasn't, it was money that I needed to put it in somebody's hands. Interesting. Jody's saying, my two dearest friends, Sal is one of them, I trust with my life. 100% of every bit of sensitive information and everything else. Yes, it's interesting. Thank you for that trust. I appreciate that. But I would say, Jody, that we've built that level up over the years. And it's been, quite a few years. But quite honestly, I knew pretty early on that you were capable of that level of trust. It goes, both ways. Jeannie's saying, my dearest friends are trustworthy. They've been there for me in the worst of times, and I in turn did the same for them. Yes. But how many of let's say, of the percentage of people that you know, what percent of them do you feel that strongly about? Is it 10%, do you think, or is it 25%? Because what I found out is it's very few. Of all the people I know, how many people do I trust to that level? Not many. Not many. A handful, that I would trust that. Obviously, you all know that Yvonne would be one of them. That Marnie is one of them, right? And Jody and I have that relationship. But, it's like, it's not many people. And I'm okay with it. Yeah, Jeannie's saying less than 10%. And I wanted to talk about that because in case we've got young people listening to this, for them to realize that we old farts, who have lived many years, we trust less than 10% of the people that we call our friends with very sensitive information. We trust them not to pass it on, and we trust them to hold our confidences. And so what I put here as a comment was, be grateful that most people are not that trustworthy. When I say that is when you can be grateful, hey, most people are not that trustworthy. It makes you sort of really grateful for the people that are. So pick your close friends very carefully. And I would say that if your trust has been betrayed, and we all have had that happen, then own it. Make sure you go, I was silly enough to trust that person when they obviously were not trustworthy. What did I miss? And, Jeannie was saying that she had red flags go up that she ignored. Boy, can I relate to that. How many of us can think about that? That when somebody betrayed us, when we look back at it, we go, boy, there were warning signs and I ignored them. You see, that's called owning it. It wasn't all their fault. And then deal with it. What are you going to do about it now that person has betrayed you? What are you going to do about it? What would you have somebody do to you? Let's say, Jody, you're emotionally strong enough to take this one. But if I accidentally, because I don't think you believe I would ever do it intentionally, but if I accidentally betrayed a confidence, would you have enough love glue in our relationship to be able to say that, oh, that was not intentional. I'm not happy about it, but it wasn't intentionally. She would never do that intentionally. Or let me check whether she did it intentionally. That would be really trustworthy. If you felt comfortable to go, hey, Sal, I just want to check, did you do it intentionally? And you would trust that I'd give you an honest answer. You see, I think that's trust. But, understand that even people that you trust can accidentally betray you. It doesn't mean that they meant to. All right? All right, Jody's going, immediate forgiveness. Keyword, accidentally betrayed me. Yes. I remember it happening to somebody where somebody did something that was unbelievably difficult in their relationship. And I got a call, and the wife said to me, "What do I do? There is no way I meant to do this, and I just can't believe that I didn't do this properly." And da da da. And I said, "You need to breathe and know that he adores you, and you need to tell him exactly what you just told me, that it was an accident, and it was a horrible accident, and you can't, even if you crawled across Flintstones for the rest of your life, you cannot undo the accident. It happened. And just beg for forgiveness." And I don't think you have to beg. I think you just need to say, I need to know you will forgive me for this, but it was an accident." And I think that's a level of trustworthiness as well. How many of you are capable of forgiveness? Interesting. Jeannie is saying, years ago, I had to go to court daily for about 2 weeks, and for somebody else, one girlfriend arrived every day to be there for me. Now, that was a quote earlier on, Jeannie, and that's a perfect example. Friends show up. All right. I have literally, if I've known that somebody was waiting in hospital because they've got a loved one, I have literally rocked up at the hospital and sat with them, right, just to distract them a little bit. Or that somebody's going under a knife for an operation, and I always think about, yes, I'm worried about that person, but what about the person waiting for them to come out of that operation? Really important. And so to me, that's trustworthy. You can trust me to not only think about you, but to think about the people you love. One of the things that you've heard us talk about before was when Jody was going through her operation. I couldn't help Jody except pray for her while she was going through the operation. What I did was I made sure, yeah, and that's Jody's just saying, "I'll never forget the support you gave Lionel when I had my surgery." But what I wanted to make sure was that Lionel knew he had a shoulder to lean on, because I think that is really, really important. That's the best friend I could be to Jody, was to look after Lionel until she was capable of being there for him again. And Jeannie's saying, "Another came to my hospital bed, walked me down the hall, gave me emotional support." Yes, you know who your friends are. All right. How about this one? Holding grudges is for children. Adults with emotional intelligence do not hold grudges. What do you think? We understand that not everybody does the right things at the right time. We understand that it's not all intentional. We trust that some people make mistakes. And the fact that they made a mistake and betrayed us accidentally does not mean that they are nasty, untrustworthy people. It means they were human. Think about that one. And own it, and and pick up the phone, or go to them with a peace offering and go, "There is no way I ever meant to do that. I just realized what I did, and I am so sorry. And I cannot take it back in a million years. But I want you to know it was not intentional. I don't know what happened. It happened, and I am so sorry." At least it shows you have character, all right? And don't be surprised if they don't trust you with a lot of stuff after that, or until you've rebuilt that trust level, maybe. Stephen Covey said, "The process of building trust is an interesting one, But it begins with yourself, with what I call self-trust, and with your own credibility. Think about this. Trust starts with your own credibility. Do you trust yourself? Yeah. Jeannie's saying, if I hold a grudge, it hurts me. Letting go helps me. Yeah. I'm always amazed with people who appear on television after their loved one has just been shot and said, I forgive the person. I'm going, wow, that is great faith. Somebody who can do that has incredible character. I forgive the person. I will not hold a grudge, because they know that the grudge will hurt them, not the other person. So how about this one? Let me ask you if this is true. All right. People are not good at holding confidences. If you find somebody who is, nurture them. But it's my experience, and I don't know if it is yours, but on the whole, not many people are good at holding confidences. So if you share less, you will trust more. Does that make sense? If we understand that most people are not good at it, then we will share less with everybody and just wait until we find somebody that's pretty darn trustworthy, knowing they might not be perfect. Share less, and you will trust more. All right, now then, this is a really nice quote from Albert Einstein. He said, let me just get this right. Whoever is careless with the truth in small matters cannot be trusted in important affairs. So if you can't trust people to tell you the truth on small things, the chances are they're certainly not going to tell you the truth on big ones. Fact, people who gossip about others are also gossiping about you. Do you agree? And if you believe that to be otherwise, why? If they gossip about other people, that's what they do. They're a gossip. Be careful what you share with them. And how about the people who say to you, I'm telling you this in confidence? All right. Now, I want to tell you that when people say to me, I'm going to share this with you, but I want you to hold it in confidence, I actually deal with that in a different way. I either say, I need you to not tell me, or I need your permission to tell two people, the two people closest to me, because that is something I would want to share with people that are very close to me. And you see, that's my truth. Now, I don't mind telling you, I have had confidences from, for example, Benji and Judy that I have held for the longest time and didn't share with anybody. But quite often, I have said to people, I hear you on that, and before you tell me, I just would want to know, can I share that with Yvonne? Because if the answer is no to that, then maybe hang on to it and tell me when it's more appropriate, if you want to. But it's like, if you think about it, when you're asking somebody to hold that confidence, that trust, you're burdening them in some way. Does that make sense? So I can remember once saying to somebody who said to me, I want you to hold this in confidence. I said, then don't tell me. And they said, why? Are you not trustworthy? And I said, actually, quite the opposite. The reason I don't want you to tell me is there are 10 other people in this room. Actually, there were 10 people in the room when they said that. And I said, I want you to know when this confidence gets out, and it will, that I wasn't the one who shared it, because I walked out of the room before you told everybody. And I did. I left the room. I said, go right ahead, tell everybody else. And guess what? Within 24 hours, that confidence was betrayed. And I just looked at the person and said, wasn't me. Yeah, it's interesting. Jeannie's saying, I was not in touch with a cousin because we were so busy, and she thought I was angry with her. I told her I was never angry at her, but dealing with many things. She was worried, and I apologized. Yes, I think that's why I always say to people, Jeannie, seek first to understand. I will actually type a message to somebody and go, hey, haven't heard from you, not a guilt trip, just want to make sure you're okay. Tell me you're okay. You don't have to write more than that. Just give me the okay. Because I don't want to presume they're okay. Exactly the same thing, Jeannie. I don't want to presume they're okay when they in fact are not. But on the other hand, if I've sent, and somebody I know is busy, I will actually just literally in the subject line of an email write, just sending a hug, no need to reply. All right, I've done my part. If they don't reply, that's up to them. Now, again, if I send 3 of those and I don't get a reply, then I'm going, are you okay? And now I need a reply. So think about that in terms of confidence. And when you think about that as well, when you are asking other people, do you ask other people to hold things in confidence? Yeah, I have. I have asked people very close to me, I want to share something with you, but I need to know that you will hold it in confidence. And, on the whole, I've never had a problem with it. The ones that I choose to tell. So, and then what I try to do is when it no longer needs to be confidential, I let them know it's okay now, you can share it, right? And so that's my next question to you is, how often do you share a confidence? Rarely? Occasionally? Often? And I would say my answer to that is rarely, except for the people that I have in my very close circle and with permission. So, if the person says, I want to tell you this in confidence, and I go, I need to be able to tell these 2 people, because otherwise I've got to carry that. It's something really important. Then, that to me is, if they know me, they know that's fair dinkum. I need to be able to talk about it with somebody, and if it's not you, I need to be able to talk to somebody else. Yeah, I would say rarely for me as well. I've done it. I don't mind telling you, I've done it accidentally. And right, by the way, here's the big question that I'm amazed we don't talk about more often, which is, how do you remember what was told to you in confidence and what was general conversation? I mean, you talk to a lot of people. How do you remember that this little bit was in strict confidence? I'm not talking about the next day. I'm talking 10 years later. How do you remember which bit was? You see, when you think about that, is it fair that we ask people to hold confidences for us? And so now if I do share a confidence, I share it knowing that it could accidentally be shared. And that's on me. I'm the one who broke the confidence, not them. Do you understand the emotional intelligence of that? I am the one that broke the confidence in sharing it with this person. And if that person shares it with somebody else, that's on me, not on them. That's how I look at it. Yeah, Jody also says she rarely shares the confidence. Rarely. Not that, not never, rarely. You see, I think that's about as honest as you can get. And anybody who tells me that they never do, I smile. How about this one? Alice Walker said this. She said, I don't need a certain number of friends. I need a number of friends I can be certain of. I thought that was brilliant. And then I found this one. To be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved. To be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved. And to me, that is what we should strive for, to be trustworthy. And so here's the question for those of you who are proving you're emotional intelligent. Think about this. What if you accepted that most people will betray a trust? What if you accepted that? Would you change how you deal with people? And if so, in what way? The other thing I want to throw out there, because I think it's really important, because it's one that drives me to distraction sometimes, is people that are my friends, that withhold important information that they need to share with me because they think I'm too busy, too stressed, too whatever. When I find they do that to me, I go, you mean you didn't trust me? You didn't trust me to be emotionally intelligent, to be able to cope with that as well as everything else. Really. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know about the rest of you, and I would like your opinion on this, but when people make decisions about my ability to cope based on their inability, I get upset. All right? And I know Yvonne learned this the hard way with me a couple of times, where she'd say, but Sal, you were so busy with this, that, and the other, and you had so much stress going on because of this, and I'm going, so you didn't trust me. Okay. And, after a while, she used to go, you're right, I didn't want to burden you. I said, so you didn't trust that I had the ability to cope with more than I already had. Think about that. I don't think that is being my friend. And I would say that to her. Yeah, Jody's saying, I'm guilty of delaying sharing information with Sal because I thought I was being kind. Yeah. Yes, Jeannie. Exactly. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Jeannie, may I share that? I just want to double check because that's pretty powerful stuff that absolutely illustrates what I'm saying. I'm just waiting for the delay. Yeah, I think it's. I'll just wait for Jeannie to reply on that before I repeat it. Jody, did you learn a lesson in that? Right, when you make that decision for me. Okay, Jeannie gave me the okay. Here's what Jeannie said. She said that I mentioned this recently, but she said, a dear friend did that to me. I did not know she was dying of a brain tumor until she was gone. Did you feel at some level, Jeannie, did you at some level feel betrayed? That she didn't share that with you so you could be there for her in a different way? And how many people do we know, who get a health thing? Don't tell my husband, or don't tell my wife, or whatever. And I'm going, really? How could you do that? So I look at it and go, if you can know what it feels like, then maybe you will make sure you don't do it to other people. Yeah, Jeannie's saying that she felt hurt when she realized that her friend was dying of brain cancer and she hadn't shared that diagnosis with her. I would have been there in a moment. And did you also end up, Jeannie, I don't mean to give you a hard time here, but did you also end up feeling guilt? Because if you'd known that, you would have been there for her, but you weren't there for her. And there's part of you that goes, if I'd been a friend, I would have been anyway, but, and you did the guilt trip. So you see, to me, I think it's pretty selfish. In some ways, it's pretty selfish. So that's why I wanted to talk about this today. Think about trust. We are building or destroying trust every day. Be aware of who you're building it with, and be aware of who you're destroying it with. And that is really important. I've got some unboxings I wanted to do to lighten the mood before we finish that. But I hope you found that of some value. I hope it gave you pause to think about how you deal with people, and that you don't have to trust everybody. In fact, I recommend you don't. All right, here we go. We're going to unbox the unboxings. So let me give you the problem, because we are problem solvers. Here was the problem. I've got a television in my living room, and as you all know, this part of the house is the kitchen, dining room, living room, study, well, sort of like I call it the fireplace area, all in this end of the house, this third. The center third is my laundry, guest bathroom, and my craft room. Wonderful design. And then the back third is the spare bedroom, and then the master bedroom and the master bathroom. So I've got a television in this end of the house, and in the far end, the bathroom, the bedroom end. So here was the funny thing. The problem I had was I spent a lot of time in the craft room, and I like to keep just up to date with the news. So I've been playing with this challenge for the longest time. What solution can you think of if that now? And probably the obvious one is get another television and put it in the craft room. And I'm going, there's not room for a television here. It would be in my way. So I don't want to do that. Happy birthday, Joe. And so to me, I wanted to find a solution that I could keep up to date, but I didn't need to get another television. And I've been, me, I don't quit on these sort of problems. I think about it for the longest time, and then I sort of get out what I call my magic wand, and I go, if I had a magic wand. Oh, and the other thing is, if I want to listen to the television, if I'm in the craft room and I want to listen to the television that's in the bedroom, I'd have to crank the volume up pretty hard, because as you know, I'm hard of hearing. And so I didn't want to be doing that either. And then I came up with the solution. I got a baby monitor. Now, I don't know if it's going to work because I didn't test it. But if I turn it on, that's from my bedroom. It's 40 steps away, people. It's picking up this far away from that television. It's not the television here. It's the one in my bedroom. So now what I do is I have this on. Hang on a second, turn that off. I have this on in my craft room. Jody's going stealth. I knew you'd think that was stealth. I can even clip it onto myself and walk around if I want to. Now, what I'm going to do this afternoon is clip it on and go outside and see how far I can get away from it. Can I bag the leaves and still be... But, it's just like if you wait long enough, the solution will appear. And I was busy, I kept thinking, what do I need? I need, one of those. Anyway, for $20 or something, maybe it was 25, I got the answer. Yay, so excited. How many of you remember my first few months here in this house, and I had to shovel snow in my runners without socks because, Anyway, so here's my next unboxing. I went out this week to go charge the battery on my car. That's how I'm allowed to go out and go and charge the battery on my car. But what I decided to buy was a pair of boots for shoveling snow and basically hiking boots. Look at those. Waterproof, high ankle support, solid, steel cap toes. What do you think? And I can get into them. That surprised me. But it was like, I deserve a pair of boots. And I already wore them yesterday just to test them out. Obviously, I didn't go very far. But now I will start wearing them now to go and do the leaves and things so that I can get them really worn in, ready for when the snow comes. But they got really good grips on them, as you can see. By the way, I don't know if I told you that, but I actually do have the things that you can put on the bottom that have, spikes in them. So we get all of a couple of inches of snow here. Heavy, practical boots. Too small? No, they are fine. I was quite surprised. I got, I've got big feet, like my head. So I was pleased that I could get them in my size. And I got them in Walmart, I think. Okay. So you know how excited I was about that. You know that I have this problem with trying to hitch up my pants all the time because I'm losing weight, but that means that I am having more trouble. I decided I need a belt. So what I did was I ordered one of these belts. And I don't know if you've seen them, but they are stretch. And then what you do is you clip them onto one of the belt tags. All right. Or two, you clip them, if you can imagine, you clip them onto the belt tags like this. So you don't have to undo them if you're going to the washroom, which I think is clever. All right. But they still do the thing. How many of you going, great idea? I thought it was a bit expensive for an elastic belt when I bought it because it was about $25. But then it came in all different colors. It came with a blue one and a black one and a brown one. Now I'm going, hey, that's a good price. I got two black ones, a brown one, and a blue one. Now I'm going, that could last me a lifetime. And those are the colors you're most likely to wear, right? How many of you going, great idea, Sal? I'm feeling a bit stupid right now. That was the good news. The good news is I got belts for every color. The truth is, when I actually went to go and put them on my different pairs of pants, do you know how few pairs of pants I've got that have got belt tags on them? You know, these little things here. Where are they? The holders. I think I've got 2 pairs. All my other pants do not have that. So I just spent this amount of money getting the great assortment of belts that I need belt loops. But now, can I make belt loops? Yeah, I guess I could. But then I was thinking, because I am not altogether stupid, because then my mind starts to race, how else could I do it? Well, guess what? It's got the ability to be, I'm dangerous, right? It's got the ability, it's got great adjustability. And I'm going, why don't I just put them on this way? I wonder if you can do it. I haven't tried it, so bear with me here. Wait a minute, I can do this. I know I can do this. Yes, one. In other words, belt it onto itself. I'd have to play with it a bit, but I think it's possible to do. Yeah, that's going to hold. So you understand, and I would just have okay, so then the front would look like this. Preferably it wouldn't be quite as turned as that is. How do I do that to myself? I don't know. But you get the idea. So I'm going to be experimenting. The other thing is that I could, just get a circle, like a keychain circle, all right, and put it in and then clip it onto there. Anyway, I'll make a plan. I'm not wasting them because they're awesome. Love them. I hope that made some of you laugh. Think about the pants you've got in your closet. How many of them have got belt loops on them today? It's like how many of them have got pockets that are worth anything. It always amazes me when people phone me on my cell phone and I miss the call and they're going, and if it's a man, they can't understand why we miss calls, right? And then I remind them, do you know how few of women's clothes have pockets suitable for carrying a phone in? You guys are wearing jackets all the time. You're wearing pants with deep pockets, so forth. Women's clothes are not built with pockets suitable for carrying phones in. And I'm sorry I missed your call. Yeah, Jody's saying mine don't even have loops or pockets. Exactly. Maybe one pair. That's what I discovered to my surprise. So now I'm either going to spend a lot of time making belt loops, and I'm trying to think how to do that easily. It would. I'll get everybody think about that. How would you make leather? Leather would work. Well, hard work. Braid. Yeah, cord. Cord would work, wouldn't it? If I bought different sorts of cord, yeah, that would work. Yeah, and okay, I know what I need now. Thank you, guys. I knew you guys would help me. Now, here's my a tip for the day. How many of you, what do you do with the leftover little bit of soap? And I know that some of you stick it onto the next bar of soap. How many of you do that with your soap? You take the little bit that's left and you actually get it soft, get the big bar soft, and then you press it on and let it harden so it becomes part of the new piece of soap. I don't do that very well, and I found another use for the little bits of soap. What I do is I drop the soap into some water, and then every now and then I give it a shake. And I know you're just going to laugh at me because you do that, right? I'm going to, obviously this is pretty thick. You can see that. It's sort of like cream. I will water it down a bit more, and I use this in my, what do you call it? Liquid soap dispensers. Now, I do put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there in case there are any germs in there. But how many of you going easy? Saves money. I don't ever buy the soap for my soap dispensers. Oh, and what I also have done is before I put it into my soap dispenser, I'll put a couple of squirts of disinfectant soap in there with it, just to make sure. But by the way, what is disinfectant soap? I'm lying. I do it the other way around now. I put the alcohol into here, the rubbing alcohol into here, and this is now my disinfectant soap. I forgot that I changed that since the pandemic. I've still got some disinfectant soap left, but I now have both. Simple. And there we go. But this is the one that's brought me the most joy. I mean, I can't tell you. It was just like, why didn't I think of that before? Well, I thought of it. That's the main thing. And as you know, a lot of my joy comes from solving problems like this. And I've had that one on my list for so long. How do I listen to the television? And now I can choose, I can hear the news going on, and I just tune it out most of the time. But every now and then there's a breaking news thing, and I think, I wonder what that's about. Then I can decide to get up and go and have a look at it, which is a good idea. Here's the other thing I wanted to suggest. It's getting close for most of us who are north of the equator. It's getting cooler. And what I would recommend is, if you haven't done it already, you can actually make your bed way more comfortable than it is at the moment, unless you already do this. And that is to take a secondhand comforter or duvet. If you happen to have a spare one, that's great. And it's a great way to store a second one. Put it under your bottom sheet. By the way, I have a throw rug, just a regular throw that had shirling on the one side of it. And I put that at the bottom third of my bed. So it keeps where my feet are, it just keeps them warmer for some reason. But, I've also found that if you've got a spare comforter, put it under your bottom sheet, one that you can wash, obviously, and put it under your bottom sheet, and you will feel just so comfortable when you go to bed. If you've got a feather one, it feels so luxurious. And I learned that when I went to visit somebody's house once, and I went to get into the bed, and I just went, oh my gosh. And I literally got up for breakfast and I said, all right, tell me about the bed. Why is it so comfortable? And they said, actually, we just put a feather duvet underneath. And I went, what a brilliant idea. And you can quite often pick those up secondhand, somebody who doesn't want it. And definitely it's not a bad idea if you've got a feather one. I quite often even put mine underneath there to store it in the summer. I take the feather duvet out of the cover, and I put it under my sheet for the summer because it absorbs moisture as well. But then I haven't got the weight on top for the summer. So just an idea. So I hope you like that. I love these things. All right, now then, hold on one second because I want to show something to you. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. And my little community doesn't have children. Why do I do this to myself? I'm diabetic, for goodness sake. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give one box to my neighbor to keep on hand for when I go visit, because they always keep candy in their fridge for me. So I'm actually going to replenish some of what they've given me. I'm going to take another box and divide that up into the Christmas stockings for people. And these are the real fruit. I love these real fruit things. And I'm just seeing how bad they are for me. They're 40 calories per packet. And I don't know how to have one packet. I normally take about 4. And no sodium. And they're about 40 calories. So think about that. So I can have about 4 a night. And for 4 is 160 calories. Which is probably a lot better than... Oh, these are only... hey, there's hope. These are only 60 calories. Oh, so exciting. Uh-oh. The Mars bars in here, which are my faves, the Mars bars in here are 60 calories. The Twix are only 50. 66. The M&Ms are the worst. Can you believe that? Hang on, let's see what they're like. Anybody got? Now that's interesting. Snickers, Twix, and Mars have 1%. And they have about 15 to 30 grams of sodium. Isn't that interesting? M&Ms don't. So basically, they're not as bad. Maybe I'm going to be my own trick-or-treater. No, I'm going to donate this box. I'm going to put that through the Christmas stockings. I'm failing. I'm failing. I'm going, which ones do I want to keep? And of course, above this, I bought Mars bars. So this time of year is particularly difficult for me. On the good news, I have found a program that, my blood testing machine tells me what my average is, and it's not very good at the moment, to be honest. And that's before I indulge in all this lot. It's when I say it's not very good, my average is about 7.2 at the moment, which is what, about 140 something, Jody, in American, 136 maybe, somewhere between 136 and 140, I think. But what I found is a program that will tell me if that is my average, this is what my A1C will be, and that will be 6.2. So here's what I'm thinking. Yeah. What I'm thinking, Jody, is I just need to adjust, right? I mean, I've lowered down the sodium. And now I'm thinking, how much water do I need to drink so that I can, have my treats? And, I know that you are saying that, Sal, you just need to ration them, but I'm not good at that. Yvonne tells me she knows I love rockets as well. She told me she bought a bag for me, not one or two, a bag. And she said, should she give me the bag? And I said, no. Bring me some each time you come to visit. Because I said, what will happen to the bag if you bring me the bag? Now, the other thing is I could hide them, right, in a difficult place, like in the shed. So it would be difficult to get to, but in an emergency, I know where the candy is. What do you think? That would be intelligent, right? In other words, it's hard work to get to them, but at least I've got them on hand. So what I'm thinking is I will allocate so many. I will allocate so many that I'm allowed to have if I can keep my blood sugar below 7. If my blood sugar is above 7, I'm not allowed to have them. How about that? That would be a good idea. But I also think I'm going to have to really up the water and the exercise to counterbalance these. I think it's doable. I just need to be able to prove it to myself, right? I love to cheat, don't I? How many of you are feeling I've got a big kid in me and it's never going to grow up? How have you been doing? And I'll talk about this a bit more, though. It's a bit like when we realize these things are possible, and Jody taught me that it's not you can't have them. You're just going to be aware of what you're eating, right? And so we'll talk more about that tonight. Maybe I'll leave these here so we can discuss them again. I did something this week that some of you will probably relate to. As you know, I broke this nail all the way down here somewhere about a week ago, or more than a week ago now. And I managed to keep it broken, but not ripped off because it would have been skin for 10 days. And it now came up to the nail bed, and now I let it break. But I needed to keep it going. But I was doing that with nail glue. One day this week, I managed to put some extra nail glue on, and I was holding it like this, and I managed to glue this thumb to this finger. How many of you are going, oh no? And I don't mean a little bit. I mean, I glued it. Super glue. Do you know how to undo super glue if you've done that to yourself? The number one thing is do not panic. Do not try and force your fingers apart, because you will rip skin. All right, that's the first thing. Now, I believe that you can put it into acetone, and that will help dissolve it. What I found was to be really patient. And I took a pen like this, and I literally just rolled it in there a little bit. And then I left it. And then I rolled it a little bit more. And then I left it. And then I tried rolling it on this side. All right. And just by rolling it, it pulled the skin a little bit. Does that make sense? And I want to tell you, after about 5 minutes of doing that, the thing just came apart. So, and can you imagine what I was saying to myself when I realized I'd done that? I'm going, how smart are you? You know not to do this to yourself. But you see, it's a bit like being trustworthy. Occasionally, you mess up. And I was laughing. I'm not joking. I was laughing, going, I wonder how long you're going to be stuck like this, because it's not very comfortable. And, I was already planning, how am I going to cook like this? Yeah, as I'm saying, I think nail polish with I think acetone definitely does it. But I didn't need to go there. Funny enough, that was my plan B. Plan C was to go to the pharmacy, because I was pretty sure they'd know. And after I, had finished all the resources on Google, aren't we lucky, really, when you think about it? Yeah, if you think about it. We are so lucky today, right? We just go to Google and find out, or we go to YouTube and get it. But I found something. I wonder about you guys, and this is an interesting thing for me. Quite often, I don't want to find the YouTube video. I want to see it in writing so I can take it in slowly. Does anybody relate to that? Sometimes I find, when I say you can take it in slowly, I can get to the bit that I want immediately, and then I can reread it, without having to keep trying to find it on YouTube. So, is anybody else like that? I just want to know if I'm alone in that. Sometimes the written word is easier for me than the video. Depending on what it is. Now, another thing, I knew it was time to clean under my stove, right? Seasonal task, people. Have you cleaned under your stove recently? When I say recently, last decade. Have you cleaned under your stove? And I decided that it was time for me to clean under my stove. But what I decided to do was just take out the bottom drawer, rather than pull the whole stove out, which I know happened after the fire. They had it out, so I know it was pretty clean in there. It was only one season of crud that was underneath there. It wasn't like a year's worth. And so what I did was I pulled out the bottom drawer. And it's amazing how much crud I was able to get rid of. How far away? Jeannie's asking me, how far is Whole Foods from me? I'm not sure. I will find out. I'm not sure. I obviously don't shop there. But I will find out how far away it is. Can't be that far. I'll know by this evening. So, how many of you have done that? Don't take the whole oven out. Just take the bottom drawer up. What was the problem I had putting it back in? Oh, the reason that's a good idea. That's what I wanted to tell you. The reason that it's a good idea is that you'll be amazed how much crud, if this is the side view of the oven and this is the oven drawer, I pulled that out. So when you get it out, I was amazed how much crud was in this track at the bottom of the door. If you can imagine, this is the door. There was an amazing amount of crud in this area. So, and I don't think that had ever been cleaned, quite honestly. So I managed to clean that as well. And then what I did was I had just enough room at the sides of the oven to be able to put my long-handled Swiffer duster down and pull out most of it there. But it saved me having to take out the whole oven. So now that's what I'm going to do every season, and then once a year I'll pull the whole thing out. Yes, Kez is saying that Smarties in Australia and in Canada have chocolate in them. But you guys are right. In the States, you call what we call rockets here, you call Smarties. They're sherbet. No. All right, so here we go. What else did I have for you before I go? I've got not very much time, so I I went to the dollar store to do all my stocking stuffer presents. I actually was really proud of myself. And my Wednesday charge up the battery, I not only got all my stocking stuffers, I also got my gift cards for Christmas. I think I'm basically done with the things I want to get for Christmas. Of course, if I can ever find that vanilla that we know I had in a box somewhere, still haven't found it yet. Maybe it'll be for next year. It'll be very well cured by then. But I got all of that stuff, but I got it in the dollar store, and I got these big bags. Hang on. These are what I call go to the dollar store bags. They're huge, right? I managed to fill up 2 of them and still have more. And so, and I decided I would self check out. I completely messed up their whole system. But they only had one person checking out, and I thought it's way too much. I'd be holding up the line for too long. But anyway, it was wonderful. All right, where are we? Hi, Roxanne. Roxanne saying, have to leave the house in a few minutes, but I saw you were live. Been ages since I logged in, but wanted to wave hello to you. And yes, sometimes I prefer to read instead of watching the video. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you that for $200, I managed to get all the stocking stuffers. I managed to replenish an amazing amount of soups and canned stuff ready for my seasonal upgrade, refilling stuff. Brand name stuff. I'm quite surprised how they have that. It was the greatest haul, I must say. And it gave me such pleasure. Now you're going, wow, $200. But remember, a lot of that was pantry stuff. And the rest of it was, I'm amazed at some of the fun stuff you can find in a dollar store if you want to. I found beautiful scented shelf liners. I've never seen that in the dollar store before, but beautifully packaged. And I'm going, great. Really nice for us, for a present for somebody. So I found all sorts of fun, as well as all the candy, of course. Now, these I actually bought at my regular store. But, it's been a very dangerous week for me. Let's put it that way. The other thing I did, and I make my own cards, and I literally I have 2 designs of Christmas cards this year, and I took them both, and I sometimes make my own envelopes as well if I need to, but I took them both to the post office and said, please weigh them and tell me how much to send it locally, how much to send it to the US, and how much to send it internationally. And, so now I know, depending on which card I send, I know exactly the right postage. And then I said, I've only got this amount of postage and this amount I need, the stamps I need to up the price to the right level. And it took me about 5 minutes to get all that information. But now I've got it stuck. So as I go to send out a card, I can check which card is it, is it local, international, or whatever? And I know I'm dealing with the right thing because I've already been and checked it. That is being prepared, not scared. So, but it's amazing how much it costs to send a card. I'm horrified. It's never mind. It's Christmas. So everybody, I hope you found some good information in this broadcast. I had fun putting this together, so I hope you did. This evening, I'm going to be making healthy treats this evening, amongst other things. So that's a good one, Jeannie. We'll make sure we talk about the soup thing as well. Thank you for mentioning that. And I think I may have to get braces for my trousers. I'm not getting rid of these yet, just in case. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm going up for my exercise moment, which will be putting all those leaves into bags. And then I will mulch them on a nice clear day and then put them on my gardens for the winter. And by the time the winter is over, I will have beautiful, healthy earth in my gardens. I like to keep those leaves doing their work because I don't throw them away. I think it's such a waste. The best thing I ever did was to buy myself one of those blowers that has a second section you can put on it, and it just sucks up the leaves and turns it into mulch. And it's just like the greatest thing because it allows me not to have to throw anything away. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, have a wonderful afternoon, guys. I'm going to go out there and get some fresh air. Oh, just an ordinary girl. How nice to see you there. Welcome. I love it when you guys come out of the woodwork. I don't know why it gives me such pleasure. Thank you for letting me know that it was enjoyable for you. Yes, Kez, I especially did a no-bake one for you. That's exactly what I did. That's what I'm going to do, a no-bake treat that is healthy. I heard you last week, and I kept that on my list. And I tried it out this week, and it was awesome. Oh, gosh, I think I ate them all, so I can't show you what it looks like. Oh, you'll see it when I've done it anyway. But, you know, they were really awesome, so I know it's something worth talking about. This is Dear Mama Sal. Yeah. Do I deserve a treat, Jeff? We'll see you this evening at 7 o'clock when we're talking about coping with life. It's going to be fun, you know that. Bye-bye for now.